Bill, this week on the old Twitter machine, I don't know if you saw this one, but some brainiac, actually I have the exact Twitter account. It was verified. Got to give credit where credit's due. I think that's part of the PCP way. Colton_Pouncey said, give me your top 5 Nickelodeon shows. So Bill, what are your top 5 Nickelodeon shows?
In no particular order, because I didn't really rank them. We can just go, Mount Rushmore plus 1 here. I'll go Rocko's Modern Life. That was always one of my favorites growing up. Hilarity. Very adult themed. If you go and look at like that meme of like the 20th crazy things they ever did on there. Rugrats is a classic. Even the movies, all of them are pretty good. So that's a big one. And then a couple ones. Well, Hey Arnold, obviously. That's I think for our age, right in the wheelhouse. That and Doug, I chose Hey Arnold over that just because I don't know, I don't love Doug he's the first Ted Mosby of television, kind of is kind of lame.
No, that was not unnecessary.
He kind of is. And then 2 shows that my niece got me into: SpongeBob SquarePants, which was a little bit in our ballpark, but we were in high school, I believe, when this came out.
Never seen an episode of that show. That was just past the point where I don't know. Who am I kidding? I watch tons of wrestling and children's stuff to this day, but I don't know, never seen SpongeBob. And a lot of people say it's the greatest cartoon ever.
It's pretty damn good. And then this one, I put it up there with Boy Meets World as one of the greatest live action kid shows of all time. iCarly.
Wow. Never seen an episode of that either.
The brother, if you ever get a chance, just check it out. The brother and the fat kid on the show, show stealers.
If you're ever bored, pop that on. I would go with my cousin Skeeter. That was my jam. For me, the 5 I posted, so I'll follow up with them. And it's really tough. When you really think about it, it's really hard to do 5 Nickelodeon shows, especially our demographic age group. I had Rugrats in there because I still think Rugrats is the GOAT cartoon show. When I was a kid, it was before the Simpsons or in that Simpsons ballpark, they did all the references, hilarious. Legends of the Hidden Temple, because every Sunday I was glued to that. It was between that and Guts, but I always like this a little bit more.
I screwed the pooch. I was thinking of just actual shows. So that's gotta move on for me. Yeah, but I'm thinking that's a game show. So I screwed the pooch on my list.
You didn't screw? No, listen, it's interpretation. I went with Ren and Stimpy because come on, Bill. I basically could have done all of Snick on this. I had Are You Afraid of the Dark, because that show, again, was incredible and was must-watch every Saturday.
This guy, never seen an episode.
Doesn't even surprise me. Doesn't surprise me in the least.
I am afraid of the dark.
We all are, Bill. In that show, there was some episodes that are terrifying, some episodes that were awful. Mm-hmm. And my last one was All That, because that was Saturday Night Live for kids. It was the best show at the time. And now famous again because Lex Lumpkin, who crushed it on the broadcast for Nickelodeon. I just watched it today, actually. Today being a few days after the NFL games. My nephew came over. And he was like, oh, you got to watch this. He was on demand or something. And I'm watching the Nickelodeon broadcast. Very well done, NFL.
By the way, yeah. I tweeted about it when it was happening. It was one of the best sports broadcasts. No, it was the best sports broadcast. Hyperbole to the extent of infinity here. But it's true. No, the production and editing, as a guy who's cut those bump out teases, they were the exact way, but maybe even a little bit better. And I hold myself I think I'm the best tease editor maybe ever. And I'm not even kidding. But they did it exactly like I would did it, and then they motion tracked stuff on top of it. And that's hard to do if you have hours. And they were doing it in between plays.
And during play, the whole slime in the end zone with an overlay underneath, that was I was very impressed by what I was
seeing. Well, that's kind of the motion tracking technology. Yeah. I understand how they did that, but the way they motion track to the eyes, I know how you do it, but to do it in that amount of time and make it look that good, a round of applause. Nick, I would give us the option, that'll grow your audience. Do that every time. Have the option to watch on CBS, because I know a lot of the hardos.
Screw that. You know what? Romo, you're out. I want Lex Lumpkin, Nate Burleson, whoever the girl was.
Oh, the girl was great. I love the girl.
I apologize to say the girl. I'm not sexist. I forgot her name. And I will just say, I want all that. I want young Sheldon in there being a wisecracking fool who tells us what offsides is. I don't need the CBS broadcast anymore. You want to shake it up? Give me that for baseball too, by the way.
I thought she was the best part of the broadcast. She was great.
So we gave you our top 5 Nickelodeon shows. Now we want Nickelodeon to redominate. We thought MTV was making a comeback one of these years. I think it's all about Nickelodeon 2021.
Well, if you talk to the average teenager of today and you ask them what it is about pop culture that they like, and the first thing they'll say is the beat.
Get yourself addicted. Ooh. Ooh.
Welcome into the Pop Culture Piledriver. Get yourself addicted to the content. I am Jason Rossi. Follow along across all social media platforms at Jason D Rossi. And you can follow this show at Pop Culture PD, and it'll instantly make you happier. And you'll know why. With me, as always, my tag team partner in the podcast sphere. He can be followed at Billy D 2411 across all the socials. He is Billy D. What's going on?
Hello. I am not essing around today. A lot to talk about, a lot to get to. So let's dive right in.
All right, don't forget our podcast nonprofit sponsor is Frank Says Hi. Please check out franksayshi.com. Donations, they'll be doing some stuff this year in this podcast world and outside of it, but we do work with Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, raising funds for those affected by cancer. So please do drop any funds you can, a nickel, a dime, $10, $5, $2. All of it will go towards a very worthy cause in people, again, affected by cancer. Billy boy, I woke up to 2 text messages this morning, both coming from William Delaney. One said, don't listen to the Dork podcast. The other one said, I'm going to bring you food. I told you not to do one. I did not listen to Dork because of you. It is usually on-demand listening. I don't usually listen the day after, so you found out lucky. So I will let you take it from here because I have no idea what's going on.
Well, I wanted to bring you food for a couple of reasons. One, because you are, I don't know if everybody knows this, not to date the podcast, but you are the birthday boy.
Date it, baby. Yes, today is the day of my birth.
I know Nick and Wes tried to have a podcast the other day where they told everybody what they like about each other. But I will say, I will be nice. I'm usually very, very mean, but you are probably the most positive person in my life, one of the more positive people I ever have met. I really appreciate that about you. And now you did a really nice thing for me on my birthday on this podcast, but I unfortunately have, some bad news. So if you, I don't know how exactly I want to set this up. We have a new segment, so that's a gift to you right now. It's a segment inspired by Dork, the Dork podcast. Rich Keefe, he talks about all the time how his wife thinks Davey has terrible picks. So in honor of that, here is our new segment.
We have a wide variety of Gene picks.
Gene's trash.
I'm Gene.
Gene's Picks, brought to you by Ryan Davey. If you want something bad, you know where to look.
So Gene's Picks, and I know Davey, sometimes a little tough when we make fun of him, but we're going for it here because last night, and just a quick side story on the Dork podcast, Rich Keefe says his wife calls anything Davey recommends Gene's Picks because Gene's Picks are trash.
Are trash, yeah.
So last night's Rossi's horrible take on the Dork podcast.
Wait, hold on. Before you say it, I think sometimes, like after our episodes, because last week we did, oh my God, why can't I remember? Oh, we did the music. We did the music of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm guessing, if I had to guess, I swear I have not listened. My guess is, did they make fun of like Machine Gun Kelly? Like, because I feel like I got a lot of heat. Okay.
Nope. It was a tweet that you had the day after we found out that the Kowloon was not going under. And it was pretty innocuous tweet. And Davey had the hot take. It was his hot take. It wasn't Keith's this week. So I will play you the cut from the podcast.
Rossi's tweet about this is, waking up hearing the Kowloon Saga has cleared up the speculation and they will remain in business for now is exactly what the world needed. God bless. Now go get yourself some of the best food ASAP. The Kowloon is a lot of things.
Oh, no.
Is that the best food you've ever had? You think the Kowloon in Saugus, Massachusetts is the purveyor of the best food?
I feel like you are the only one brave enough to say that because everybody talks up the Kowloon and here you are.
Bro, there's a place that is literally in between a Walmart and a Supercuts right down the street from me called Chang'an 2. Food's just as good as Kowloon. Like, it's run-of-the-mill, bad Chinese food.
Yeah, and I watched Rossi's face during that whole take, and he was flabbergasted just like I was. He also threw in a bro, and this was the guy who said during the Christmas podcast, Die Hard being a Christmas movie is for guys who say bro when they say something, so he did that himself. And then when he went to go say other places that had just as good a food, He didn't say any place that had a better food. He just named that something as good. I don't know. You also said some of the best food in the world, not the best food in the world. And I want, a chance to volley back after you take the floor here. But I mean, as well as I do, how we feel in this area about the Kowloon, all the sports stations, all the wrestlers. He did say they have great drinks. But he said you need the drinks to be able to enjoy their food. So, Rossi, you have the floor.
This is an audio podcast. We get a lot of listens audio-wise. I'm holding a GD Kowloon bag in my hand because when my wife asked me, what do you want to do for your quarantine birthday? Because we're not even in that, let's go somewhere type of phrase anymore. I said, I don't want to do anything big. I don't want anything special. I'm going to do the podcast with Bill, jerk my bean. And I said, that's fine. I said, you know what? Let's do Kowloon. We're not as close to the Kowloon as we once were. I have grown up there. It is literally the establishment in my life. So I'm not even going to judge anybody. If you don't like the food, fine. I won't even go there, Dave, because I get it. Who hasn't had a million Chinese food restaurants, right? But for me, don't just that's not a horrible take, first of all. Be better. I say a lot of dumb things, and you guys have pulled things out of absolutely the ostriching to this day still blows my mind.
I love that.
Still on me. But that is not just don't even use the segment because that's bad. That looks, first of all, yes, to people that we're in the greater Boston area, the Kowloon has done such a good job of spending $0 in getting everybody to talk about them. That is very special. Before I worked in radio, which yes, I did for 1,000,000 years, and I'm the greatest. I was going there since I was a wee little lad. I was going there for every birthday, every communion, which was one, every single religious thing that happened to my everything. I was going to the Kowloon. That's why to me, it's going to be the greatest. It will always be the greatest to me. The food is good. It is. I would say some of their menu.
I would dare say great.
I would too. I would say some of their menu items are the best Chinese food I've ever had in certain ways. I get the most ridiculous dish in the world that everyone makes fun of me for. It is called sub gub chow mein, no meat. It is literally vegetables in this thick broth. It is the best dish there is in the world to me. That son of a gun is still half a container upstairs. So F off, go enjoy your Supercuts Walmart extravaganza. Go enjoy the free samples when you go around a couple times at the mall or whatever, because don't worry, I did that too. But I just think that is it's great. And Keith's oh, they're so brave for saying such a thing. F off.
No, Keith, I cut it up to get it, so we could play it. Keith did, he was groaning. He was oh, we're going to get hate mail. He knew how bad of a take it was. He didn't really go at him as much as I thought he should, because as well as I've had my birthday as an adult in 3 places.
He did it. Yeah, I was going to say.
3 places. I've had it at Santarpio's, I've had it at Floramos, and I've had it at Kowloon. I've had it the most at Kowloon. Kowloon, I don't even think this is a bold take. I think it is the most famous restaurant in Massachusetts.
Yes.
The non-chain.
I'm really trying to think.
That's it. It's the Kowloon. And to the point about the food isn't good, well, then I don't think you've had their chicken fingers, because they are literally the best chicken fingers I have ever had. So that is food-based opinions can be tough, but everybody who has it says that's one of the best.
And it's one of the few places, Bill, where you can get 20 of your friends in comfortably. You're not jamming into a booth. We've been to nice restaurants together. Oh, yeah. I've never had a more comfortable setting than the Kowloon, where you have those long tables, tons of food, everyone's wearing a lei, you rip up the lei. I have so many memories there, it's not even funny. So I am biased. But here's what I would say. Instead of continuing to attack or whatever you think I'm doing, and Davey, I can already feel his blood boiling and the uncomfortability, but I will say this. When the time is right, and things get back, or at least we get to the summer, I personally, on behalf of the PCP boys, the Pop Culture Piledriver, Billy D and Rossi, want to bring you, Ryan Davey, invite your kids, invite your wife.
Who's from the North Shore.
I will pay for you, and I will bring your family out, and I would love to. I'll bring my fam, and I'll bring my other son, Billy, and we are going to go out. And you're going to enjoy yourself, and you're going to eat some yum-yums. You're going to enjoy it, and we're going to have the best time of 2021.
All right, and my last 2 things on this. They have the best General's chicken, orange chicken ever.
Oh.
It's consistent. That's the other thing about them. They have the most consistent food in the world. And then their saugus wings. When I throw a party, if I'm throwing a party, there is a tray of saugus wings every time.
There's a tray of Saugus wings and there's cut up rodeo cheeseburgers. That's a sign that Billy D's at the party.
And last thing, like when you're done with your meal, some places give you a fortune cookie, and they do. Of course they do. You might get a little hot tea if you want to, but they have the best fried ice cream you will ever have. No one does fried ice cream better than the Kowloon. They put this cornmeal that nobody really puts on it, and it's just perfect. So it's one of the places that I've had some of the fondest memories of my life. And to say the food's not good, I just don't think you've had the food enough.
I agree. And I'm not going to disrespect the Supercuts extravaganza, wherever you're going. I'm sure it's good. But all I would say is this is the problem. So a couple weeks ago, my hot take was I didn't complain that people were negative, right?
Yeah.
I don't say, hey, you like something that stinks. Those are other people. And if I done it, then my foot's in my mouth. I can't reach it because I'm not that. I try not to be that guy. That is one of my goals. Don't poo-poo other people's excitement things. Like if people were like with Endgame, everyone go to that. I never said, oh, you like Endgame? You're a loser. You're an idiot. I said, I didn't like it. I'm not trying to make sure you don't like it. I just was explaining why I don't like it. If Billy says, when he goes hyper Billy about a million things, he just said iCarly was a great show. That's like me saying, iCarly's trash, Bill. You're an idiot. No, because I don't know any better. But anyway, that's just a little bit more down that rabbit hole of what I saw on the chat that day.
Okay, and now since I think we've put this to bed, do you have anything else to get out of your mind on your birthday?
Well, now you put me in a place here. I didn't see that coming, but I did. Like, this is a legit Kowloon bag. I got like $100 worth of food today, and I didn't even tell the guy who owns it because I didn't want to get a freebie because he is the greatest man alive, Andy Wong. Go support them and go order some food and support local business, Davey. You jerk. If the place in between the Supercuts and Walmart were going out of business or rumored to go out of business, go order your bunch of food. Well, first thing was the Kowloon. I actually had it as one of my things. The other thing was, Bill, and this is where I'm actually skeptical, dare say negative, but the announcement of Deadpool going into the MCU, I don't know why, worries me.
I mean, they haven't messed up much yet.
But I feel like, well, yes, true, except for Endgame. But you know that I feel like Deadpool has been so good in its little corner of that world, and like the puns, I know they're going to pull it off. There's nobody like Ryan Reynolds, the whole production team, I know they'll pull it off, but there's a little worry in the back of my mind, my big old dome here, and it just scares me a little bit that there could be, it might be too much. I just feel like where the niche where Deadpool was such a good place for it. Like where it was like innuendo based, breaking fourth walls with things. So I don't know. What do you think about Deadpool heading into the MCU officially?
I feel like until they really mess something up consistently, I won't be worried. Like if it was DC doing something like this, obviously you're going to be worried because 90% of what they do is trash. But the MCU, they have really good writers. They know how to tell stories. They know how to make stuff fit, make puzzle pieces fit. And as much as you may have not liked the way they did with Endgame, I thought they at least did a great job of finishing out the story. I thought it was phenomenal. I do think Infinity War is a better movie, but I think they'll handle this with foppish aplomb.
Don't know what that means. Look it up later. And then one last thing, Bill. I've been watching the show. You have Apple TV? You've rocked the Apple TV?
I do. Is it the football coach show?
No, I've yet to watch Ted Lasso. My wife not a big comedy person. It have to push her. She loves the drama. So we just finished the show, The Flight Attendant, which is on HBO Max. And then I was like, Ted Lasso or the show, The Morning Show. So we're watching the show, The Morning Show. I think it won a bunch of Emmys because it came out in 2019. Bill, awesome. Like dramatic, great story. Like you would really, I think the way I now get to know you and your storytelling mind and like the way you like to see things kind of weave in and out and like where something that happens early ties into something late and character, like this is a really well told show. It's Steve Carell. It's Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, Nestor Charibold from Lost, Richard Alpert. It's an amazing cast, really well written. It's all kind of based around the Matt Lauer situation, but not Matt Lauer.
Shit.
Yeah, wow. It's a doozy. Very dramatic, very heavy at times, but very, very good. It comes highly recommended for me.
All right. Well, speaking of that, we actually have a PSA for the show today brought to you by Oh Yeah.
Diet soda is bad for you.
And so am I.
Drinking diet soda will increase your risk to get diabetes.
Dating me will increase your risk for commitment issues.
Studies have shown that drinking diet soda leads to depression.
Past exes have shown that dating me could also lead to depression.
Diet soda can lead to weight gain.
And so can I.
In conclusion, diet soda has no redeeming qualities.
In conclusion, diet soda is bad for you, but so am I.
That was brought to you by the people at Oh Yeah. They have a new song coming out called Can I Keep You on Friday on Spotify. It is a banger, so go check that out.
I need to know right now if those facts about diet soda are true.
They actually all are kind of true. Like they can all lead to 90% of studies have shown for comedy purposes. We shortened it up for the script.
I don't drink diet soda. I drink Zevia occasionally, but I'm more of a soda water guy. But it just always worries me whenever I think about that. So thanks to guys. Oh yeah, and go check them out. They do a lot of obviously the songs we've already heard here on this podcast. So Bill, today you try to snatch my topic away from me. How dare you son of a bitch. But today, honestly, it was just more of an open conversation. I feel like we just got the meat of a lot of the stuff out. But we want to just have one of those open discussion conversations. For me, one of my favorite things, 2 weeks ago, we did the top 11 female wrestlers, and just has got my mind back into all that wrestling talk that we've done. And we'll come in here and there, but I just thought have an open discussion about basic all-time favorite wrestlers. And for me, the definition that I'm going to come up with was at what point in one time did I just want to see that wrestler win? Whether it was when I believed in kayfabe, which to this day, maybe a little bit, still real to me, damn it. Or was it someone that I just personally like in the ring, which is now like the modern day wrestlers. Like you just like them, maybe their person, or you just want to see like back in the day, it's literally like I got mad when these wrestlers lost, and these wrestlers I just respect now. I feel like that's kind of the way wrestling's gone like over the last 25 years, 30 years.
Yeah, for me, I kind of did the same thing. I'll have an honorable mention that is the only one who doesn't, I think, fill all of the time gap for me throughout my wrestling fandom. So I just chose like the people who were most important to me, kind of like you, the people I wanted to see win, the people who I rooted for, the people who kept me watching throughout. And it's a pretty old list besides, save one, really.
I was seeing how many I actually wrote down. I put down like 13.
Oh, really?
Because I was just jotting down. I can, I'll give you a couple honorables because most people actually do honorable mentions in the beginning. Just spoiler.
Never heard of that.
I will send you numerous videos of top 11 lists or countdowns. It goes honorable mentions and onto the list. It's out there. Just like the truth in the X-Files. For me, I'll just throw a couple names at you. These weren't ones that were like huge on my list, but Sami Zayn, especially in NXT, like he was like that guy for me, made me feel the feels, gave me that baby face love that I always liked. Booker T in numerous times, WCW, early WWE at the time, post-invasion when he was with Goldust, like just another guy I loved. Trish Stratus from a female perspective, Asuka, those are two of my two all-time favorites. To this day, I watch Asuka and I'm thoroughly entertained, like literally in love with her character, love with the way she is in the ring, her mannerisms, everything about her.
I would salute that as one of my honorable mentions as well. I mean, when she lost to Charlotte at WrestleMania, I was floored, couldn't believe that. But she is one of the most captivating performers, men or women, within the last 25 years, maybe ever.
Honestly, that's a good way to put it. She's very captivating. She is like right now wrestling's in such a weird place with the pandemic era, no crowds, guys like Drew McIntyre, the WWE champion, is COVID-19 right now. Good on WWE finally announcing who did it. A lot of rumors about that in the past, but Asuka is literally somebody like if you don't want, like perfect example is Rich Keith. He was always like on like Tuesdays or Mondays. Like I kind of got him, to watch wrestling a little bit during the time we would talk about it. It was, Dale was a wrestling fan. And right now, I'm sure they don't really watch as much. But if I were to tell Keith, hey, watch this Asuka segment, he would like text me back and be like, that was good. Or he'd at least be like, that was worth my time. Where instead of sending him like, watch this Apollo Crews Big E match. Not that that's a bad match, but Asuka just has that captivating presence about her, no matter what she does. Yeah,
she knows how to control a crowd. A couple of my honorable mentions. I mean, you got me thinking here. Disco Inferno. Just going to throw that one out there. In WCW, that guy was phenomenal. I loved watching him. He was one of the reasons I would tune into WCW. Obviously, guys like Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio were guys that I would tune in for that first half hour. I'm sure you're going to get to him on your list, but Y2J was one of my favorites growing up. And then my other honorable mention that I couldn't put on this list because he's a giant baby and I can only have room for one giant baby on my list is CM Punk, who I saw at the Kowloon the night and I can't believe I didn't tell this story during the Divas podcast, but one night at the Kowloon, I don't think it was my birthday. I think it was the night you went to go get Edge's autograph.
It was the same. I was in the Red Roof Inn lobby with at the time a friend Dario, and we met Trish, Lita, Big Show, Edge, I think like Dean Malenko, but like it was much different of a situation where you guys had a much better time than I did.
Well, yeah, because they were all on their way to the Kowloon for Trish Stratus's bachelorette party. Because I remember, and this was when I was kind of out of wrestling, because CM Punk brought me back into wrestling. I knew who he was, and I saw, big fat Paul Heyman. I was like, that's Paul Heyman, and he's sitting with some dude. Like, oh, that's CM Punk. And then I look over on the Kowloon dance floor, and I'm like, there are like really attractive women on the floor tonight. And it's August, so you're getting some Peabody girls, you're getting some Danvers girls, not the Malden girls that you would normally see sometimes. So I'm like, there are like 10s and 12s out there on the dance floor, and it was Trish Stratus, Mickey James, Lita, like
Victoria, Melina.
Victoria, Tori, the who's who of women, and they were dancing because the Kowloon also has a band there. So
it was cover band.
It was unreal. Like, it was the hottest woman ever. And speaking of CM Punk, he probably, was able to date quite a few of them.
He had his way. With I think everyone agreed. Maria, by the way, she was another one. I think that was there. There was, and I've had this a million times. Sex sells. I think WWE needs to find that a little bit now more than ever. A lot of adult content out there that is selling. We talked about the MCU. Rated R movies are the thing. Now, I don't need nudity. I don't need scantily clad bra and panty matches. But I think bringing the sexualization out of some of their characters, not a bad thing. But yeah, CM Punk, I didn't actually have him on my list, but that was a really good call because there was that window of time in 2011 when I think like 2000
watch.
Yeah, he did bring me back just as much because it was definitely 2010, 2011 were my darkest days since like 1997, only because I lost internet and free cable in 1997, so I stopped watching for a little bit, which is the biggest mistake in my wrestling career because that's known as probably the best year in the history of the Monday Night War because WWE turned everything adult content-wise. Yeah, they turned did. All right, so here we go. For me, the first one I will put in here as a mention. Again, no particular order. These are just some of the favorites. You mentioned them, so I'll start there. Chris Jericho, who I believe, when it comes to the conversation of the greatest of all time, the conversation usually is somewhere between Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels. Like, with all due respect to both, not necessarily my favorites, but I think those are the guys that people say greatest performers in the ring, greatest, just everything that they brought. Shawn Michaels really with the in-ring performance, Ric Flair with the aura that he brought to his performance. But I think Chris Jericho is at that point. We're in 2021, and the guy is still wrestling. Unfortunately, maybe not looking at the greatest as he has. And NBA Twitter destroyed him a couple weeks ago because they came on after the Celtics-Bucks season opener, and he was out there and made me kind of feel good about my body. And I'm like 20 years younger and never been a professional anything. But with that being said, I just think he's evolved so many times. He's done so many things every 5-6 years. He's done change it up. And we have watched that. With the other two, especially Ric Flair, we didn't watch that. People didn't watch that. That was a lot of like local Georgia stuff in like the 80s. And you heard about it. Just like what I think happens in New Japan when people talk about Okada. You're not actually watching it happen. You're hearing about it. And I think the thing with Chris Jericho, he has performed in front of us since day one in WCW. Reinvented himself 3 times at WCW, comes to WWE, several reinventions, several title runs, just continues to push the boundaries of wrestling and his character. So for me, I think he's definitely worthy of being, at least in the conversation, the greatest of all time. But he personally, in different parts of his career, he was the greatest and one of my favorites.
I mean, the reinvention is what he's known for, and captivating an audience, he's another guy who does it, and he is just money. And he prints money because he comes up with usable, dynamic catchphrases at the drop of a friggin' hat. I mean, from you just made to the list, I mean, to everything he's ever done in his entire career. I mean, he is just, and he's quick on his feet too. There's a story where, somebody said, go back to Calgary. He's like, I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot. Like, he's just, that was a fan heckling. He's just so quick-witted, and he doesn't look great for a wrestler without his shirt off, but he probably looks better than both of us without his shirt off. So
without a doubt, he's like in all reality, he's still like better shape than people give credit for.
And he's a fantastic wrestler, except for his match at WrestleMania with AJ Styles.
No comment. Moving on. Not doing this.
All right, so I will put. I kind of put them in order, so I'll just go in order. My fifth, just not making the Mount Rushmore. I couldn't find my other Bailey shirt this afternoon, so we're going with the Jobber Knocker. Take a drink. That's old school. But Bailey, because when I got back into wrestling in about 2013 to 14, she was kind of coming up in NXT, and I just embraced her career, and she was phenomenal. She really. I always remember our good friend Kevin and our good friend Lauren as well would be like, Billy, why do you like her? She's ugly. And it's like, I mean, she's actually not ugly. She's actually got a very nice face. If I don't think the camera does it justice, but
especially then she just had a different. I think what it was, she had a different look, and she was young. I'll explain in a minute. Go ahead.
But she was just a captivating performer. She really knew how to capture the crowd. She was a phenomenal in-ring talent. She had some of the greatest matches. And I think the NXT crowd created so many superstars that, they were still going to be huge. And right now, Pam, her real name is just, setting the world on fire in women's wrestling, one of the best runs in recent memory. But in that NXT run, the crowd embraced her, and she had some of the best matches because the crowd embraced the match, and it made it so much better, and you felt a part of the action because she connected with you so well.
She was, and I don't know if this is a proper term or not, investable. She was somebody worth spending your time getting to know because she was different. The look, the feel, the vibe. She was just on. I haven't finished it, and I was actually going to text you the other morning.
Oh, the Stone Cold podcast.
Bill, it is so good. So it is. We did a podcast about Bailey. You can look through, go back. There's different archives. With iTunes been a little wonky recently, but you can go back on Apple, Spotify, wherever. We did an episode about Bailey. I think it was her first. I think it was so far. I don't think we put a time cap on it. I think it was like her run thus far, and that was up to like earlier this year or earlier 2020, or somewhere in 2019. But it's a great complimentary piece because a lot of the commentary we had just as fans, she kind of spoke about it, and there was a lot of agreeing. And just a long story short on her, really good person, like seems like a genuinely decent human being, genuine fan. She said the best thing about her, and I think where the attractiveness comes from, is that a lot of these women have hair extensions, face augmentations. They show their bodies in a different way. And Bailey said the best thing about her was she just slicked back her hair in a ponytail and was able to go out there. Light on the makeup. Or the side pony. But see, like that's what I would be chilling at home with, like a headband, like post-workout. That's what the wrestling gear. She's on Road Dogg level of comfort in the ring and stuff. And then just to fast forward, she's completely reinvented herself because that character, for whatever reason, didn't translate because the overexposure of a Raw and SmackDown weekly.
They didn't know how to book her.
It's just, I've come to the point where there's just so much overexposure. I don't know if you can book these type of characters anymore. Yeah. That's why like a Brock Lesnar will always have some sort of special vibe because you don't see him every week and he doesn't wrestle every week. But with that being said, she's now become a heel and she's great at it. And she has become great. Her t-shirt went from the hugger to ding dong. Like she's just very great at what she does. She's now the role model where she was, again, the hugger thing. Like everything about her is great. She gets it. And I think it's wrestlers like her that, and Chris Jericho so far, we mentioned two people that really understand the game of wrestling, how to work with crowds and how to adapt to things. And again, she's investable because once you watch her, you give it a little bit of time. It's like, oh, we got to keep this going. And a lot of time unfortunately for female wrestlers, it's like they get these 3-week, 4-week runs. Either you buy in or we're not doing character. Like someone like Natalya, who's a great wrestler. There's no character to her at this point because they don't bother to give the time and viewers can't invest.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And, she just is, like you said, she's worth your time because she cares about the product and she cares about her performance, and it comes out in pretty much everything she does.
Yeah, for me, the next one, this is a big one. Again, I didn't go in specific order just because I had so many names, and I guess I could do that. But for me, it's The Rock. The Rock is like one of the guys. So I'll be honest, Stone Cold's not going to be on my list.
Not on mine.
And here's why. He's awesome. I'm not going to say I didn't like him. He just was never like that guy to me. He was just the overarching guy. He was like, all right, of course he is. Now, The Rock you could say, well, duh, wasn't he? But those first few years while The Rock was growing with Stone Cold, and Stone Cold, obviously it was like a 6-month time period, but even as the corporate, he was never that guy until well into like 1999, 96, 97, 98 Rock was just like fun to watch. The Nation versus DX. He was the heel, but he was so good. He was so good. He was captivating, his in-ring stuff. And then when he got to the top of the top, the promos in the back with guys like Kevin Kelly, Michael Cole, Lillian Garcia, in the ring singing, all the stuff that he did. Like The Rock, I'm never going to say you could predict where he would go and he'd be the biggest Hollywood star. I just bought his tequila. It's decent. He is just so damn good at what he does. He's another one of those guys that if I could watch 1998 from start to finish all over again, The Rock himself that year was so fun. His promos, his sarcastic, that gift, the famous like eye rolling when he's with
he's got 100. He's got 100.
Well, that's a good point because his facials the whole time, he knew how to. What I said about Asuka could be equal for The Rock. We all know where his career went. He was the guy, and then when he was in the championship run with guys like Triple H, with the Mankind stuff, you wanted to see him at times lose, which that's important because you hate heels, and then at times you wanted to see him win. He was one of the first people I think you can actually say that throughout his entire run. You hated him when you hated him, and you loved him when you loved him. It never turned aside from the one wonky night with Hulk Hogan.
I would agree, and he's a great performer, and, him and Stone Cold aren't going to make my list just because kind of I went with the people who really connected with me, like as a kid or an adult, and The Rock was great. He was entertaining. He's on the Mount Rushmore of the all-time performers and entertainers, same with Stone Cold. But, I mean, the reason why he's not on my list, and I actually don't really like this guy anymore, but I can't deny what he did for me during, I don't know, my 12 to like 17-year-old years is Mick Foley. He was everything. He was one of the first books I ever read. I jumped off of people's sheds into tables set up in fake wrestling rings.
What are you, a Buffalo Bills fan?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I was doing it way before they were. I was breaking tables, doing backyard wrestling, and I wanted to be Mick Foley. I wanted to be the guy who was sacrificing his body, and I just thought he was the coolest thing ever because he wasn't your typical wrestler. He didn't look like a typical wrestler. And I know people have said this a million times about him, but there is something so cool about seeing that character of Mankind. And, he was the foil for another guy who's going to be on my list, a great heel, but then he was the ultimate babyface in the match against The Rock where he basically, could have died. He took so many chair shots to the head. I mean, it was brutal. I mean, his family had to sit there and watch him bloodied, absolute mess. Him going through the steel cage with the Undertaker and getting tossed off of the cage. Those are two of the biggest moments, I think, in wrestling history. And they say him going off the cage was what put WCW finally in the ground.
He really is a marquee player in the Monday Night War for everything you mentioned. So two things that people stand out when you think of violence in wrestling: getting tossed off the Hell in a Cell and the chair shots, both happening within like a 6-month span. King of the Ring 98, Royal Rumble 99. Also in between that, one of the biggest ovations in history. He won the championship on the first Raw of 1999.
And where'd he go?
Oh, by the way, you know where he went, Bill? Let's go see our friends at the Kowloon. All right. Also, we're wrestling marks, and that's another reason we like the Kowloon. It's more.
And they weren't even in Boston; they were in Worcester.
They were in Worcester in a snowstorm. Anyways, that's how good the food is. All right, that's where it's worth going for. Davey, I am bringing you all the Davies, baby. Bring them all. Bring them all. Ryan, and all of them. Get them all in there. I'm driving. I'm picking you up. I'm driving to CT, picking you up, getting Uncle Rossi's here, and we're driving to Saugus. Woo-woo! Anywho, that is exactly, he had that type of feeling. And I remember watching and being like, is he really championship worthy? And as a kid, like, you looked at The Rock, like, he looks like a champion. Stone Cold, champion. Undertaker, champion. Mick Foley, Mankind, you're like, nah.
He looked like 10 pounds of monkey crap in a 5-pound bag.
That's why The Rock's the best. But yeah, he had one of those great wins. And again, it turned the tables. That is the turnover to WCW. That'll put some butts in this. Like, their champion's going to be Mick Foley.
They spoiled the opening, and they didn't realize it was going to make everybody
change the channel. It was the same night as the finger poke of doom. It is literally WCW going this way, WWF going that way. And one night, it didn't happen that night, but it set the seed, sowed the seeds. And as you mentioned, he really was such a major player because people can look at Mick Foley and say, I want to see him win. When you looked at Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Goldberg, just a different style.
Absolutely.
Good pick. For me, next one. So I have a ton more in here, but I'm going to go with these three as my final three. I'll start with Triple H. Now, I didn't love some of the stuff he did in his latter portion of his career, but again, 98, 99, 2000, the dominance of the McMahon-Helmsley era, even into Evolution, like Triple H was compelling. And there is something about having a final boss-ish feel to a heel. So to me, I loved it. And on top of that, where I think we're going in a second here, is Triple H may have the greatest theme and entrance in the history of wrestling. Nobody, just from the kick to the point where he gets to the ropes, he puts his hands in the air, and he spits water all over his. Oh boy, that's gonna leave a mark. Billy just did the Triple H entrance, and I could see
it is. It's amazing. It is as good every time you see it. I love his entrance, and he's the ultimate guy who's just always there, and he's always performing at the top of his game. I think he is the best seller and the best guy to get another guy over, even though he didn't choose to at WrestleMania 19 with Booker T. He is really good when he's doing the deed and taking the pin. And I think that's something that you have to look at with a lot of these champions, with, John Cena and Ric Flair and, Triple H, the amount of times they lose. Because Hulk Hogan never lost because he never wanted to give up the belt. My number one never wanted to give up the belt. They didn't have a lot of title runs because they didn't want to give it up. And that's kind of a dick. Kind of a dick. And Triple H never had that.
People want to say, he booked himself. There might have been a time. Let's be honest. He may have done it for a little while, but he has learned over the years. Look at his WrestleMania career. He has lost so many times, more recently than not. Like, I can just go back to past WrestleManias. Yes, he beat Batista in his final match, but WrestleMania 34, lost to Ronda Rousey, Kurt Angle. WrestleMania 33, lost to Seth Rollins. WrestleMania 32, lost to Roman Reigns. WrestleMania 31, lost to Sting. Oh, wait, no. He beat Sting. He beat Sting.
And won the Monday Night Wars, even though they already won them.
Yeah, 50 years later. WrestleMania 30, lost to Daniel Bryan. WrestleMania 29, lost to, beat Brock Lesnar. WrestleMania 28, lost to The Undertaker. 27, lost to The Undertaker. So he's laid down in the right positions. It happens. But yeah, Triple H was awesome. He still to this day gives you a little bit of the vibe. He's slowly transitioning into that Vince McMahon. When he comes on television, he does his 20-minute promos.
The game.
You hope it's important. Most of the time, it's okay. But I really think Triple H will go down as one of the best, regardless of with somebody else I'll be on my list has to say about him.
And who is it? Conrad Thompson? No, but my next guy, it's an obvious one. I'm sure he's on your list as well. But it's The Undertaker, Mean Mark Callis. He is probably one of the all-time great performers. I'd put him in the Mount Rushmore of performers. He is the greatest character who's ever been created. He really is the pinnacle of professional wrestling when you think about what other people think of when they think of professional wrestling. They think of big goofy guys and big goofy costumes, but he was able to change his Undertaker character and even had the American Badass in there. And he was so good for so long, and I won't belabor the point here, but he did have that run where he was Old Man Undertaker, and I hated him. I never wanted to see him again. And then he ended his career with probably one of his most memorable matches against AJ Styles in the Graveyard match. And I think it won WWE's Match of the Year this year, and deservingly so. It was the only way you could kind of give him that last ride, that good send-off, and they did it, and I think you had to do it. His tribute on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown were totally deserving. I mean, this guy dominated my childhood. I wish I could find that giant shirt of either him or Bret Hart that was just his face. I would pay $500. Either one of those. If you could get me that, I would die. But I was him for, I think, 2 or 3 straight Halloweens. He is, he's just one of the GOATs. I think you got to put him up. He won't be in the Mount Rushmore. I always say the Mount Rushmore of actual wrestling is John Cena, Hulk Hogan, Brock, Stone Cold. But he is a wrestling fan's, top wrestler.
He's the definition of wrestling. It's a dead person that had a mortician bring him out to the ring in 1990, saying that it's like the greatest thing ever. And he has lasted 30 years in wrestling, and he is known as an icon. Just think of that. That's like Bastion Booger somehow getting over years later. It's just insane. For all those characters, all the crazy things they did, he was the one that came out of that. And I could not be more happy for a guy like him and happy for wrestling fans to have somebody that special. I still believe he has more matches in him. I want to see him go to WrestleMania 40 with these ridiculous, now that they can do, cinematic matches. But if he is really done, which it seems like he is, hats off again. Greatest wrestling character of all time. This is a flip a coin for me. I'm going to go with the one you least think that I might have on here. I don't have Undertaker on my list. Never was. I really love the American Badass, but it was never like the guy I wanted to see win. This is a guy, modern day, want to see him win. Always love him. Been put into the greatest position in the history of wrestling, in my opinion. Daniel Bryan. The guy that makes you believe. With CM Punk walked so Daniel Bryan could run. CM Punk smaller, indie wrestler vibe, doesn't have the big look or didn't seem like an outstanding promo guy, which he was. And then Daniel Bryan came in and was like plucky baby face, kind of corny, had this thing with like all chicks loved him. They felt like that's how they had to get him over. Then boom, it hit like a storm. Daniel Bryan could get over because he became a heel, won the Money in the Bank, which I think might be the greatest gimmick in wrestling because it really helps getting guys over if you're not going to be the champion. Won the championship, became a giant slayer, started the yes, started the no's, became a huge thing all the way up into his run to WrestleMania 30, which wasn't supposed to happen because they didn't put him in a Royal Rumble, which set the world ablaze. # cancel WWE Network. Everybody, I remember emotionally being upset thinking Daniel Bryan's going to win this Rumble. If you remember Royal Rumble 2014, put it in your WWE Network, loses the opening match to Bray Wyatt. That is the surefire move to then later in the night he conquers, and there's your feud in between. Get him to the championship.
We all figured it out too because we knew there were two people left, and we knew who the two people were, and we were like, Daniel Bryan's not one of them. And the people in the arena figured it out too, and the place just it was one of the biggest disappointments because that was the one Batista won, right?
Yeah, Batista won. They thought WWE has been making these ridiculous mistakes since that time. They won it over there. They had about 2-3 years of like, okay, we're going to get by WrestleMania 30 or 31. After that, it was a travesty. Even 31 with the Roman Reigns stuff. But at the end of the day, it's just like, it's written there for you. You wrote the storyline that he wins the title against John Cena, gets screwed by the Authority at SummerSlam. There's your arc all fall long. Joins the Wyatt family, then comes out, and you're like, here we go. And the actual story was going to be he was going to stay in the Wyatt family. What we saw from Randy Orton years later was going to be that story. Insane. But anywho, Daniel Bryan in the ring, one of the greatest pound-for-pound competitors, doesn't do it like he used to, but we are blessed to have Daniel Bryan in our rings. The man had to retire because of neck injuries, seizures, concussions, all these issues that he had. 2 years taken out of his 2+ years taken out of his wrestling career so that he can do it now at a much different pace, much different style. But if you go back and watch 2013-14, there is not a guy that looks like he doesn't give a damn about tomorrow like Daniel Bryan did in the ring. So, and he sold like a champ, made everything look real, made his submissions look dangerous and vicious. Daniel Bryan, heel, face, he's done it all. Kofi Mania wouldn't have been what Kofi Mania was without a Daniel Bryan as its heel, who made it believable, who was the guy on the other hand. Every time he's been in the spotlight, he's taken the ball, he's run with it. He is one of the greatest to go down, maybe the greatest wrestler of all time. Yes, I said it, because he has done it from the basement to the WrestleMania main event. Very few have done that, especially in the modern era.
I wouldn't really argue that fact. There's a few guys' styles I like a little bit better, but his stuff is crisp, it's clean, it's neat. Everything he does looks painful. So I wouldn't, fight you too hard on that. My next guy, we can kind of tag team this if you'd like, because I know he's on your list. He's probably your number one. It is Bret the Hitman Hart. I mean, this guy was my childhood. He was the guy who made me fall in love with wrestling. Everything about this guy when I was little was great. He turned out to be a giant baby, but we're not talking about the bad stuff right now. We were just talking about the good stuff.
It's cool.
Oh, yeah. To me, no, he was kind of a dick. We were both very disappointed.
I met him the next time at WrestleMania recently, and he was nicer. He was just attacked by a fan 2 days before, and he's over there telling me I got a nice shirt on because I'm wearing a Bret Hart shirt, and I didn't know I was going to meet him. Best day of my life.
There you go.
Child being born, meeting Bret Hart, first time I had Kowloon, meeting my wife, marrying my wife in that order.
I'm sure Courtney will be very happy.
Oh, she is.
But, he is, I think, the best looking performer from when the bell rings to when the bell ends. And he had, the submission finish which he never really used in big matches, which I always kind of enjoyed. I know the Jobber Knocker Take a Drink doesn't like when matches end with a roll-up, but to me, they're always better when you don't know the ending's coming out of nowhere. And that's why I loved watching Bret Hart wrestle. Every time he stepped into the ring, it was kind of like that, like you were saying about Daniel Bryan. Everything looked perfect. Perfect.
He was the best. Like where I said Daniel Bryan, like might go down as the best. Like Bret Hart to me is that visual because Bret Hart made everything feel real. You watch, just look at any wrestling Twitter account. Go to 90s WWE. It's one of the best follows. They'll just randomly show stuff. A lot of Stone Cold stuff there because he retweets them. A lot of Rock stuff. But you have these Bret Hart moments. They show the stunner that Bret Hart took at Survivor Series 1996 against Stone Cold. And he sold it as if his neck just broke. And you don't see that at all. Now we're all into the big flips and the dives. And I am too. But like you forget that that's the simple sell we're looking for. When someone stomps, when they hold your legs up and Bret Hart to get you to the sharpshooter would just kick the side of your like groin, the upper thigh.
The way he hit the turnbuckle, and Gorilla Monsoon would say it moved an inch. It might have moved an inch. He would hit that. And that's why I always hate Seth Rollins. I use the phrase doesn't go into the corners hard, like it's hockey. He doesn't go into the corners hard. Bret Hart would go chest first at times into the corners, and it would look like the wind got knocked out of him. Probably a couple of times it did, but everything he did looked great. Great.
Yes. There is nobody better to watch a match that you just want to watch a pure wrestling match. There's a lot of stuff you'll see in Japan, so I do give credit where credit's due today. Like you do want to watch the Okadas, the Ibushis, the Naitos. Those guys make wrestling look like, and they sell at times. Selling is so important. I think Bret Hart, this Dolph Ziggler is on my list, but that's like an honorable. Like you have to sell to make things look devastating down the line. He made everything a power bomb from Kevin Nash look like he just broke his back in half. You don't see that. You just don't see it. So I don't know why guys today aren't watching more of that. I think AJ Styles has a little bit of that in the current game. You do have your guys here and there, but like you need these main events need to look like when you get hit by a finisher, either you're dead or you're close to. Where Bret Hart always did that.
He always did one of my favorite things too, where he played possum. Why don't people play possum more often? I love that. He just
as a face
from behind. Yeah, it's great.
And to go what you said about the jobber knocker, Bret Hart always found ways to win with roll-ups, quick pull of the tights for the thing. But that's what made the match special. That's like real life. Like in boxing, there's no finisher. It's just sometimes you get knocked the F out.
I mean, the Patriots, when, in 2007, when they were kicking the shit out of teams and blowing doors off, a couple of times they had to, come from behind and win, the game against Baltimore where they won it in the last second. You're not always going to win with your finish. Even in real life, sometimes boxers get lucky. Sometimes you have to scrap and claw. And an example of the match you just talked about, the Survivor Series match with Stone Cold, he puts him in the sleeper hold. He goes 360 or 180 over the ropes and pins him with it while he's in the submission. That, to me, is a spectacular finish because it's coming out of nowhere. If you hit somebody with your finish for every single ending to a match, I know when every single ending to a match is coming, and it's a little less exciting.
Yes, the only people I can say that really did a good job. I know that we're going to get to them, but like the Undertaker with the tombstone, once the kickouts of the big moves started to really take precedence, I'll give them credit there. But yeah, Bret Hart is my favorite. I won't even get into it. We'll go to your next one because this is an open dialogue with this one because Bret Hart made me believe. Like when I was a kid, was like, that's my guy. I looked at Hulk Hogan, too big, too powerful, never could be him, don't look like him, didn't grow. Where Bret Hart, when I watched, was a tag team guy. Then the Intercontinental Champ with Roddy Piper, Mr. Perfect, British Bulldog, grew into the championship, lost the championship, then gets back into that picture. It was just he kind of was the first, I think, to really grow in the mold from tag team to singles to star to number one guy in that progressive. Like other guys had done the Intercontinental Championship like Macho Man, but never was a tag team guy previous, if that makes sense. So I don't know. Bret Hart was like the true growth and one of the greatest. Like if I were to become a wrestler today, I'd want to watch a lot of Bret Hart matches before I got in the ring.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say on that, and I think this is the thing I complained about most towards the end of wrestling. And by the way, the Royal Rumble will be my ticket back in this year or next year. Actually, it is this year. But it was the fact that they built him, like you said, at every level. And I don't think they do that enough. I think once they think you're the guy, they don't give you that intercontinental run to build you. They did that with The Rock. They did it with Stone Cold. They did it with all the guys that came before them. And now they're just kind of jumping levels with all of the guys they think are top talents. And I think that is a necessary proving ground. And I'll go to my next guy. I have a tie at one. So I think you're going to cover one of the guys, and I'm going to pick the guy that, I don't think you will pick. And that is, I think he's cute. I know he's sexy. It is Shawn Michaels, HBK, the Heartbreak Kid. And it's really weird because when he beat Bret Hart at WrestleMania when I was a kid, I cried like a baby. I was never more upset in my entire life.
I really did.
I fucking hated this guy, but he grew to be, tied for probably my all-time favorite wrestler. He is an incredible performer. I think he's one of the most captivating performers to ever watch. His stuff looks good, looks real. He sells like a champ. Sometimes he sells too much like he did against Hulk Hogan, but I don't think there's a more charismatic performer I have ever seen in a wrestling ring. I think AJ Styles scratches the surface of being that kind of performer, but Shawn Michaels puts on some of the most epic matches you will ever see. Every time he got into the ring, you knew you were getting your money's worth. His matches with the Undertaker are, some of the best ever. Probably 25 is the greatest match of all time from bell to bell. Even if you catch a match with him fighting Jeff Jarrett at In Your House, it is an absolute wrestling classic. And his character, he wasn't even really that great on the mic. He was okay. Like DX was cool.
He's fine.
He just had that cool factor that you wanted to be him. And that's the thing that they say. The girls, you have to have a wrestler where the girls want to sleep with him and the guys want to be him.
He wears a girly magazine. Bret Hart was the best. But these two, actually, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels obviously made WWF so compelling. I'm sure horrible to work for. It's probably like what I dealt with in my WEEI time. There was just some chaos in the background, but to a listener, they probably loved it. Brought the best out of some people and the worst out of others. But nonetheless, these two hated each other, and I think that actually played to both of them. Mm-hmm. And I think they didn't need to be great on the mic either. I'm sorry, people over-exaggerate how great you have to be on the mic. Their characters were larger than life, and they weren't even like these big, like, superhero looks. They just were great in the ring, and you wanted to watch them every time they were on. And the thing about Shawn Michaels, I couldn't stand the guy. Still don't like the idea of every championship he lost. It was like, here, take the belt, hand it off, or
he dropped the belt like a baby. He was one of those guys like Hogan who you kind of had to pry it off him.
Yeah, and you had to literally pry it off because he wouldn't lay down. He laid down like 4 out of like 10 title changes, but in the early phase, in his lost the smile era. But with that being said, he is one of the best in-ring performers. Like, he did bridge that gap to a lot. Basically, wrestling we're seeing today, what I think they should be more Bret Hart. There's a hell of a lot of Shawn Michaels, dives, jumping off the top rope, big moves, back flips, crazy stuff. But Shawn Michaels did it in a way that it wasn't like, I'm just going to do this wham, bam, 6 moves, double flip, jump over. Everything was crisp. Yes, he earned it in. He put his opponent in a position to then execute that move. When he would do those flips off the top rope onto the announce table, it's like, holy crap. But it's not like, hey, 2 minutes into the match, we're going to elbow you, roll you onto the table, and there you are, and I'm just going to do it. Like Shane McMahon, for instance, that's like always what happens with him. It's like, he's going to go coast to coast. He's going to do these things. Shawn Michaels, the match put him in those positions to take that risk. It wasn't like the risk was set up.
It was pure in-ring storytelling, which I think, again, is something that they lack. In WrestleMania, I believe is it 19 where he fights Chris Jericho?
Yes, one of the best. You got to watch that match. That's a perfect example of what I want to see today. I'm excited for some of the other crazy flippy stuff, don't get me wrong. But your main events, your big matches should be more Jericho-Michaels 19.
I mean, he hits a moonsault outside of the ring. There's a lot of epic moves in that match, but they build to it. It's not just big moves for the sake of big moves.
I recently rewatched Sasha Bailey, not the Iron Woman one, the Brooklyn, and that reminds me so much of Michaels Jericho because it's two performers that are not in the main event that know that they believe they're the best performers on that card, and we're gonna go out there and prove it. The dives, the crazy spots, they were not just doing it to do it. It makes sense within the match, and it's I'm better than you. That's what you want from your non-title. Earlier in the card matches, I am better than you, and I'm going to prove it. Not a 45-minute Edge Orton. We're going to make this so dramatic and slow. No, hit him hard. Give me 19 minutes max, and just put it all on the line. And that's what you saw. Those two matches are perfectly one of your mentions earlier of Bailey and Shawn Michaels, just so crisp. That's where I give him a ton of credit. I'm a believer in Shawn Michaels. I just don't personally like Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I mean, he had 2 Hall of Fame careers. There's no denying the talent, but I mean, you just can't deny the greatness of HBK.
So who's your last one? What else is there?
John Cena.
Oh, John. Okay, sorry. What's funny? John Cena was never that guy, and I've never been a John Cena hater. I think he might have won a little too much there in that mid 2000 teens. Like, I didn't get why he got the belt. at the Money in the Bank we were at. But again, it was all to get to Brock. So like I've understood the art of wrestling a little bit more as I got older, but I've never rooted for him necessarily, aside from like when he faced Shawn Michaels, Triple H in those early WrestleMania 22, 23s, because I wanted to see the young guy keep going. So
and I hated him then.
See, that's what, like, that obviously, it was the turn happened very quick into his championship run because he just beat everybody. He was just beating all the big dudes. Jericho, SummerSlam 2004 or 2005, one of those two. It was just, that's when the crowd turned because it was like, all right, you're beating literally everybody.
I mean, to me, he's the definition of hard work and earning the respect of a crowd and a fan base. I think he is one of the all-time great performers. I mean, there's not a bad John Cena match. He is Big Match John. I friggin' hate. What's his name? The guy who coined that. What's his name? Bradshaw. John.
Match John. Here he comes.
But I mean, anytime he puts on his wrestling sneakers and jorts, this guy delivers. He is probably, I think, the most captivating wrestler on the mic that has ever lived. I think The Rock cut some great funny promos. Stone Cold could turn a phrase. Chris Jericho could catch a phrase. But this guy, every time he went out and delivered a promo, to the last promo he delivered that I remember on Bray Wyatt, to all the ones before that, everything leading it up, he backed it up. People came at him. They came for the throne. He was another guy who just laid down to put guys over. I agree with you. He won a little bit too much early on. But the thing that I used to measure John Cena, and I think we had him in our top matches of the decade, he was up there for a ton of them because he knows how to work with every single guy. He is not a bad dance partner for anybody. And still to this day, the best matches that AJ Styles has had in the WWE are with John Cena. And he's wrestled everybody. And I think that says a ton about the way John Cena approaches every match. He is just that damn good. He's that damn good on the mic. I think he is the greatest talent to come out of WWE ever. I think he's undervalued because it's a time where people weren't watching as much.
And even people that were watching, they just didn't believe. It was just wrestling was better when. Now I think we're getting to the point where it's like, man, you remember when John Cena faced Umaga at Royal Rumble? Like, that was awesome. Like, we're starting to now get to, like, that's the nostalgia, the ruthless aggression to the early part of the PG era where John Cena was fighting guys like Kane. And you're like, oh, that was actually a really good story. Where right now we're, like, struggling to, like, put two things together. So it's much different times, but I agree with you. John Cena might be pound for pound the best wrestler to ever do it because I think the best way to put it, he could wrestle anybody. And like when Stone Cold was wrestling, when he got to the heights that he got to, he never fought Mosh from the Headbangers on a Raw. Where John Cena fought I'm not comparing Sami Zayn to Thrash, but you know what I mean? He went up and down the card. He fought R-Truth. He made R-Truth a champion contender in 2000.
He made everybody. He could make anybody a star. And like to your point, the Sami Zayn thing, he took the most irrelevant title that was on television and he made it the most must-see thing, bigger than the main event. The United States Open Challenge, he took and he made star after star after star, putting on match after match after match. The Cesaro match, the Sami Zayn match, the Seth Rollins match, the Kevin Owens match. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Zack Ryder in Long Island was a huge match. It is, Bill, that is such... I still argue that Raw after WrestleMania 31 was the best, like 4 or 5 weeks, or maybe a couple months, because you had Neville who just came up, who you just wanted to see him in the ring. You just wanted to see Neville fight. John Cena was having an open challenge. Didn't know what was going to happen there. Seth Rollins had just cashed in, so now he was your champion. There was so much juice to Raw at that time that all 3 hours were worthy of your time because there was these moments you knew things were going to happen, and now you're just lucky to get through 2.5 hours if you can.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while.
And I understand it. Like, there was a little while I really would fight, and I'd tell you, oh, man, come on. Like, I think you'd really like this, you really like that. Now it's at a point where it is very difficult, and I still give WWE a lot of credit because they've battled through things. No weeks off. Pandemic, we're going to entertain you. Thank you, wrestlers. Thank you for what you do because you guys – like literally, like there's like the service workers. We have a lot of nurses and firefighters, police officers in our lives that we should be very thankful to. And I know this sounds crazy, but I put them right up there only because they've literally risked their lives to entertain a slob like me for 5 hours, 6 hours a week.
Yeah, they do not stop, and it's
no off season.
A testament to the way that they work. And I think when I tell people like the lives that they lead on the road, and obviously I just know it from watching, the documentaries and stuff, but it's brutal.
Oh yeah, a life you always think you want, even as like a writer or stuff, but you travel just as much as they do. Nah, I'm good. I'm straight. I'm good sitting at home critiquing on Twitter and being a jerk. But with that being said, so those are just some of our favorite wrestlers, all timers. You can always tweet at us at Pop Culture PD, at Billy D 2411, at Jason D Rossi. Let us know some of your favorites. Do you agree with some of our favorites? Do you hate some of our favorites? Let us know.
Shared universe.
That's the voice of our guy Marcus, as well as Goo, who didn't know what he was doing when I asked him to do that. Bill, what's going on this week in the Dorkshire Gooniverse?
Well, we were on the Change My Mind podcast, and they said it was most anticipated movies of 2021. Yep. And Wes tried to plead the case all night, but he told me it was a roast of Fryer, even though it seemed like a roast of both of them. I don't know what was going on, but I was entertained.
You didn't know there was a gimmick going on. You worked yourself into a shoot. So I think they didn't detail it to us, but I think the whole point was most anticipated movies of 2021. Oh crap, people are interjecting their way into our podcast and roasting us. We didn't know this was happening. But again,
I really thought it was just a roast of Fryer, so I went at him pretty hard, and I only had a few jokes about Wes.
Yeah, no, you did a great job. Go listen to it just for Billy's set. Also, Wes's wife's set. She was hilarious. So they did their 100th episode, and I just really like when people congratulate. Like, we're going to be there in a moment. This is, 94? I don't think we're going to do anything to celebrate it. We're just going to make it an episode unless you want to we might say something in the beginning. It's more of a testament to yourselves, but, like, congratulating someone for having 100 episodes is like congratulating someone for being friends with somebody for years. No, like, you deserve a Nobel Peace Prize for being my friend.
Congratulations on creating your 100th blog post. Like, it doesn't take much effort to do this. It is nice. We put in some effort, but
they do too. And I
But no, I mean, it was nice. I had a really fun time on there, and it was great overall. And then the boys from Dork ripped on the Kowloon, and I believe they talked about 2021 movies as well.
So now I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to be so mad when I listen to it. I am. And I just want to say, and I know Davey probably is long gone, hard to find, whoever their marks are that listen for them and tell them what we said and what my bad take is, because I don't even know if they'll actually hear it, because I do question that sometimes.
I think Keith listens the whole way.
I question it. I would know by now.
I think he does.
Either way, I appreciate everyone that listens, by the way. You have a lot of choices with your audio and in video and where you could be. And the fact that you're taking time to hang with us and make us a part of your life, that's such a freaking pleasure to us, and we appreciate it. But yeah, I don't know. I think, like, Davey with this whole thing, like, I can only imagine what he'll feel about the jeans. But by the way, that's really funny. And if that's going to be a weekly, is it always going to be a Davey thing? So is that going to be like? I mean,
it could be a Davey thing weekly. I mean, he's got the Blink-182 thing out there, but I think
I still want to stand by. There's two things. I will die tomorrow, Bill, potentially, and RIP on me. You know, God rest my soul, and hopefully I have good life insurance for my son. But I will die going down to say, yes, the one-hit wonder thing, that's Davey being a dink. We all know it.
Well, he reneged on his own podcast.
Well, yeah, but just fine. I'm just saying. The time we did the episode about creating the perfect song, I wrote in there, this is not a draft. Everywhere in that email. I have no problem taking the jokes and being, there is emails, you're on them. You can deny it. You're on it.
Well, you know me. I was an English major, and you can ask any of the people I've dated in my life. My reading comprehension is low. It is low.
It is in a Twitter thread I'm looking at now. This is not a draft. We'll just go around, but I don't mind taking it. I don't mind not knowing what a draft means. It is funny. I will take it. I don't mind, but I will still die. I will die tomorrow and go down with that.
No, you are right. But, like, I just couldn't.
It was a dumb thing. It was just dumb. Like, that was dumb. That I'm fine with. But just when people say, oh, that wasn't a draft, that it was. No, I never said it was a draft. It was dumb. All right. Next time it will be a draft. I'm an idiot. PSA.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. I'm a moron and I may die. Thanks. And what about that all of our podcast people?
No, Mac and Drew are doing the 1989 classic Aliens. And I
gotta listen to that. I heard they really crushed that take.
They do. And then TLDR did comics, of course. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Dem Pineapple Boys are going to be doing what is the name of that episode? Shawn and the Red Phantom, which is one of the early season 1 classics. And then Davey, Doc, and Shime, they be twitching. So go check everybody out on the Dork Shared Gooniverse Facebook page.
Came off natural. I will say also check out the YouTube on the Dorkshire Gooniverse. They're going to be YouTubing as well on Dork. They're going to be doing more video game streaming, and I actually want to talk to Keith because he streams through what we're performing our show on. So I want to know how he does that. Is it just through the emulator and share the screen? Because that just seems like fun. I'm not trying to steal their idea, but it would just be some fun stuff to do to connect with people and chat.
Yeah, I can stream my Madden games.
You should, like, why not? Like, this, you throw it on there, like, and just because you play against people, I'm sure there's two-way conversation.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like, you never know, people would be interested in that stuff. I, for a little short while on my Twitch, when I did that, I twitched my games, and people like jump in and just pick up this guy in free agency or that. Like, you should do that for the drafts and stuff. I know Doc did. One of them I was watching, but like, you should, if you're playing the game, why not put it in front of more people?
Yeah.
But like even playing retro games or other stuff, like I know Dork's doing that. I'm just saying, like, it's a good idea. And like some of my favorite games I'll just play sometimes, but why not?
Yeah, stream it.
Throw it some content. Also wanted to let you know, Bill, I did a stream of Madden earlier with your favorite man, Adam Kaufman, told me today, getting into the show, psych.
Oh,
so
we got a fan.
So with that being said, Billy will be canceling the both ways by the end of January. So enjoy these next few episodes with him and Doc because he's going to come off the train harder than ever. It's just going to derail. He's going to say, I actually hate psych. Psych sucks. We're doing a community show.
I had a kid like that in high school where he liked whatever I liked and it annoyed me, so I just stopped liking it.
There's one person I feel like that could do it to you. It would be that man, Adam Kaufman. But yeah, so I told him, like, oh, make sure you check that out. He's like, nope. I won't do it. I'm like, no, you should, because if you want Bill to stop doing it, you start liking it. Tell him you like it too. Like, start texting him. But yeah, check out those guys. That's will be coming up this week. Also, Bill, some upcoming episodes. No particular order, even though we kind of planned it out, but we don't really stick to it. It's card subject to change. We're going to be doing our Office Season 5 review. We'll be going to be joined by some of the guys from Crossing State Lines. Basically because Bill told me to, and I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to meet them. All right, because Bill says they're nice people. Yeah. Well, also, yay! I'm a decent person. You said I was a nice guy, compassionate person. People don't give me handouts. Like our podcast is a handout. All right, we'll also be doing a workout playlist face-off. We did it with the road trip. We'll be bringing you to the workout. If you want to get your pump on or your run on, we're going to be putting together a playlist there. The Royal Rumble we mentioned. At least I know I'm going to, because that's going to be a big night. We're also
I'll be in on that.
All right, we're going to do a live, maybe even during. And after, because it's 2021 and we're not out of this thing. And my goal this year is 30 participants, Bill, in the Royal Rumble Challenge. I think we can do. We got 15 last time, so you had two entries per. I think we can get 30. So you get one. Oh, maybe we did get 30 last year. Now I think about
we did.
I think we did. So yeah, because it was you only had one per because I had Drew McIntyre and I literally lost my mind. If it was, I would look like. When the Patriots won the Super Bowl, that kind of reaction when Drew McIntyre won the Rumble, because I thought once he knocked Brock out, he wasn't going to win it. With that being said, we'll have that coming up. Super Bowl halftime shows. We're going to do something on that. We have, Valentine's Day is coming up, so maybe we'll have either a battle or a top 10 romance sex songs playlist. We'll see. We'll get through it. Also, we're going to do our first, I guess you could say, look into a movie career, a filmology. If that's the word, of Joseph Gordon-Levitt. One of my personal favorites. Yeah, no. I liked what I said the first time. What did I call it?
Filmology?
Yeah, filmology. Yeah, that is, honestly, right there, that is the name. It will stick. Filmology of Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So we'll look through his career. His birthday will be coming up in mid-February. So we'll do that. We'll have a jukebox. And Bill, you had a great idea. And I think we let our first one go to the fans potentially. Or we could do the first one, let them vote. But we're going to do Portrait of an Artist. So we're going to take a musician, a group, a band, and we are going to run through their discography on an episode, talk about highlights, lowlights, but go album by album, kind of like what we're going to do with Joseph Gordon-Levitt with his filmography. So if there's any bands you think we would be good at, maybe it's bands like we could go from Paramore to Outkast we've discussed, to bands like, for you, like Taking Back Sunday. You could go classic rock. We could go the Eagles. It could go anywhere because we are known as the music experts of the Dork. Actually, you know what? I'm taking us out of the Dorkshire Gooniverse. We're just music experts.
Yep. Air quotes and all.
Air quotes and all. That's what we do. We air quote it, baby, because I don't take myself that seriously, even though I feel like I do. People think I do, but I don't. And with that all being said, We appreciate you guys so much for hanging in there with us. Billy, this was a lovely day. Appreciate the birthday shout-outs. Big shout-out to the Kowloon for being the greatest restaurant in the history of mankind. Can't wait to bring the entire Davies along with me this summer, sitting outside. Maybe we'll watch Back to the Future on the screen. Billy's going to be there. I'm going to be there. The girls are going to be there. And Ryan Davey himself is going to be there. My treat, bringing him there, changing his mind. And if he wants to bring me to this, to hair cuttery Chinese food restaurant, he can bring me there if he likes.
Indeed.
Bill's done. All right, we'll be seeing you again. Follow us along at Pop Culture PD. Please do subscribe. Leave a 5-star review. It really helps us out. Have yourself the most beautiful week ever. We'll catch you all back here next week. Tell a friend about us. Frank says I.